So domain are the x values and range are the y values. So when we state the domain, if we state the domain, we're going to say all of the x values. We can use our brackets. We're going to write the x values in order from least to greatest. So we write the numbers and we put them in order. Those are all the x values. Those are in the domain. For range, we write all the y values. We don't repeat numbers and we go from smallest to largest. So notice for range, I only wrote the number 7 one time because you don't have to repeat values. You don't have to write it twice. Okay, so for number 2, same thing as number 1. Our domain is here and our range is here. Numbers are from least to greatest. Okay, so once you plot all of your ordered pairs, then you see that if you do the vertical line test, you never hit more than 1 point at a time. And so they both are functions, okay? So yes, it's function, yes, function, never hits more than 1 point. So for number 5, it does not pass the vertical line test, so it's not a function, because notice the -2 goes to 1 and 3, and if you plot, it does not pass the vertical line test, so it's not a function because it hits more than 1 point at a time. So this is not a function. So for this next one under 3.2, function notation, when it says f of x in this x slot, it's just going to be used so that we can put a value in, and so we are showing someone what we're plugging in for x. So for example, when it says find f of -2, that means we're going to insert -2 wherever we see x. And then when we do that, we're going to simplify, and we get f of 2 equals 2. Our answer is 2. So our answer would be C in this case. You do not divide by 2. This is our final answer. In went 2, so x, in went 2, and out, or our y, if we had to plot, out came 2. So the ordered pair would be 2, 2 if we wanted to plot that point. So the first step is to write a function. We look at our table, we need 2 ordered pairs. So I just picked these 2 ordered pairs, 0, 3, and 1, 1. So we can label as x1, y1, x2, y2. We plug into the equation for slope. We find out that our slope is -2. Step 2 then is to find b. So in order to find b, we know that we have slope. We have -2 for slope, but we need a point. We need an x and a y. So we're going to pick one of the points from the table. I'll choose 0, 3. So I'll plug 0 in for x and 3 in for y. So we would have 3 equals, the slope we found was -2. Our x value from that point is 0 plus b. So when we solve, we get 3 is b. Now that we have m and b, we can write our final equation. So our final equation would be y equals the slope we found, -2x plus 3. That would be our final answer. So for this first one, when it says graph f of x equals 3x minus 4, notice that f of x is the same thing as y, okay? So it's just some function notation. So we use this function notation to tell someone what we're plugging in for x. So for example, I chose to plug in 2. So in the x spot in the equation, I plugged in 2, and I got 6 minus 4 was 2. So in went 2, out came 2. That was my first ordered pair, 2, 2. I did that dot. Then I chose function notation to plug in 3 for x. And 9 minus 4 was 5. So in went 3, out came 5. That was my second ordered pair. I plot 3, 5. All you need are 2 points. We then drew that line, and we're done. So next problem. These people are driving 120 miles from their house. They have already traveled 20 miles. Okay, so we know they've already gone this far. It's a one-time amount. We're not going to attach a variable to it. They're driving at a constant rate. We know rate of change is the same as our slope. So we know the rate or the slope is 50. So we can write an equation. So we know our equation is y equals rate 50x, rate of change or slope, plus 20. Because I've already driven 20 miles, there's no variable attached. So this is a function. Now we can replace y with f of x, and it's still the same equation, it's just in function notation. And don't worry about saying what the reasonable domain is. We haven't talked about that yet. Okay, so for this next question, what you do is you plot all your ordered pairs. So 92, 74, they're all right here in the table. Okay, so we plot over here. All those little red dots are my ordered pairs. That's thing one. Then step two is you draw the blue line. So notice I drew the blue line. That was about halfway through my red dots, my data points. About half of them are above and below. Then here in green, I picked 2 points from the blue line, the line I drew. You're just approximating. So I said on the blue line, it looks like there's an ordered pair about 70, 90, and there's another dot on the blue line at 90, 80. It's an approximation. So then, just like anything else, once you have 2 data points, you first find slope. So I got -1/2 when I plugged in these green ordered pair points. And then second, you have to find b. Just like before, we used our slope that we found, and we have to have an x and a y, so I picked one of the points in order to solve for b. And once you have m and b, you can write your equation. Y equals m we found is -1/2 x, plus we found our b to be 125. Everyone's answer is going to be a little bit different because it's an approximation line of best fit. And this relationship doesn't really make sense because as you study more and more, your exam grades you would expect to go up. Now remember, for your calculator, if you're doing this in your graphing calculator, you would hit stat, make sure it's on edit, you hit enter. Under your L1, you put in all your x values. Under L2, you put all your y values. Then you hit stat. Then you arrow to the right to where it says calc. You scroll down to the one that says linear and it says ax plus b, and you hit enter until you see the numbers. Once you see numbers pop up, it might say something like a equals 0.304 and b equals 55. If it says that, and then on above it says y equals ax plus b, you know your equation. You know the a is there, the b is there, so your equation, if you put something random in your calculator, would be y equals 0.304x plus 55.